The CBC News Network is taking a look today at the many provincial elections that are being held across Canada this fall. Voters in Ontario will be casting their ballots on October the 6th. Mike Wise joins me now from the Ontario Legislature with a look at the issues and the players in this campaign. Mike.
Oh, hi, Carol. Been quite a campaign, just been running for over a week and a half or so, and that's because the first week of the campaign, it was really thrown for a bit of a loop. Going into this, throughout the spring and the summer, we had the Progressive Conservative leader in Ontario, Tim Hudak, with a lead in the polls. Dalton McGuinty, the Liberal Premier, trying to seek his third majority as a Liberal here in Ontario. And you had the PC successfully trying to brand McGuinty as the tax man. They were reminding voters of the introduction of the HST in Ontario, how that raised prices, introduction of a health care premium. Successful there. So going into the campaign, we really thought we'd see a continuation of this. But then a funny thing happened. The campaign started last week. The Liberals released their platform, and the PCs decided to hone in on one particular line in the campaign. There's an adage in politics, try to define the other guy before they do. And there was a line in the campaign platform that talked about providing a tax incentive for businesses to help hire new Canadians. And because it was kind of poorly defined in the platform and not a lot of details were out there and kind of a confusing issue, the Tim Hudak and the PCs ran with it a little bit, trying to define it as a tax break for corporations who would hire, and they used the words, foreign workers over unemployed Ontarians, really trying to paint this there. We saw the first several days of the campaign, the PCs pushing this forward, then starting to get a lot of flack with this. And you talk about that adage, define the other guy before they do. You saw the Liberals turn that on their head a little bit, accusing at one point the chair of the Liberal Party accusing the PCs of lying about the platform and really painting a message of intolerance. In the Liberal war room, you saw emails going out, and you see people talking in chat rooms and in discussions on websites, starting to call Tim Hudak Tea Party Tim as a response to the McGuinty, the tax man thing. By the time that the Liberals got out and defined this and explained it as being a training incentive to help foreign trained professionals, those are Canadian citizens who were trained as, say, an accountant or an engineer overseas but needed help getting their Canadian credentials and needed a work experience. That's what this tax credit was actually aimed at. By the time they explained that, the PCs had moved on, and this week we've seen them return to that the campaign we sort of thought they would run, talking about law and order issues, making a sex offender registry public, talking about tax relief and other things like that. Meanwhile, you see McGuinty touring around the province, his campaign not making many missteps at this point, but still 3 weeks to go.
Okay, what about the NDP? Are they getting any sort of a boost from the federal orange crush effect?
It's certainly going in. The polls are showing them well. Andrew Horwath is the first-time leader leading the party in this particular point. And early on in the campaign, you did see some connections with Jack Layton. As a matter of fact, there were reports of campaign calls going out to people in support, asking them to remember Jack and help out with fundraising. And we've seen people with buttons saying, you know, I'm with Jack, things like that. To a point that earlier this week, Andrew Horwath had to say, hey, step off a little bit. But it remains an unknown thing right now, sort of capitalizing perhaps on some confusion that it's an Ontario NDP party, not the federal NDP party that Jack Layton ran. But many people wanting to know, when it comes to the ballot box, will there be some support? Will they continue to ride well in the polls because of that? Last night, we did see Andrew Horwath take her campaign into a suburban riding around Toronto in Brampton that actually did quite well in the federal campaign, and hopefully trying to bring a bit of that organization and machinery in to see if they can repeat that good performance in an area the NDP traditionally has not done well in, the suburban ring around